I had a second Me Too moment in 1983. I was a teacher's assistant at the University of Minnesota, where I taught a survey class to undergraduate non-theater majors who needed the liberal arts credits towards their degrees. A big part of the students' grade was a two-character scene they had to do towards the end of the quarter. They had a long list of plays from which to choose a scene from, and I had to read all the plays so that I could coach the students in their scenes in an hour session. They were supposed to have their lines memorized by the time I came to work with them, but they never did. But we all got through it, and the scenes got put on in class, and everybody lived. There was this one boy in the class who was a complete pill to deal with. I don't remember him clearly, except that he was very pretty and very annoying. Often, after class, and sometimes during class, he would say things like, I can't move like that. I wish I had more confidence. I don't know how I'm going to remember lines. That's what you call the words you memorize, right? Oh, boy, this class is so early. I'm not even awake yet. And, oh, God, somebody take care of me because I haven't even learned how to wipe my own ass properly yet. Oh. At the time, I was pretty much a huge pill myself, but it got to the point that when he started to speak, I just wanted to slap him hard back into whatever pill bottle he'd escaped from. His scene partner, on the other hand, was a pretty and sweet girl that I knew a little because she'd dated an actor in the department. They were doing a scene from Beyond the Horizon by Eugene O'Neill. We scheduled a time for the three of us to get together. He didn't show up for his coaching session. The next time we saw him, he was all contrite. We scheduled another coaching session for the next week. He didn't show up for that one either. The next time we saw him, there was more pill-like cringing contrition, and because I didn't know what else to do, the sweet girl had to do the scene too, we scheduled another coaching session, which, inexplicably, he missed. The poor girl was going crazy. This was a big part of her grade. So, I went to an actor friend of mine in the department named David and asked him to do the scene with her. He knew the girl too, so he agreed to do it. He hardly had any time to learn his lines, let alone figure out his character's motives and intentions, and it must have been hard for them to find times to rehearse since it was so close to the end of the quarter. But David had pluck, and so did the girl, and the scene went surprisingly well. The day they did the scene, Pillboy was there, all a-quiver, because, poor him, the reason for everything was that his grandmother had just died. 3 times, apparently. This had been going on for 3 weeks. Maybe, because she was Pillboy's grandmother, she just couldn't figure out how death was done and kept coming back for reassurances that she was doing it right, and Pillboy had to be there to reassure her, and that's why he missed 3 coaching sessions. I don't know. Anyway, he was all upset now because he didn't have a scene partner. What's going to happen to me? So, because I'm a nice guy, a responsible guy, he was my student, I agreed to help him one last time. His scene had a monologue in it, which I told him to memorize. We set up a time to meet, and he showed up. Huh. Let's see what you've done. Jack shit. His lines weren't even memorized. I was very angry, and I started to berate him. Pill simpered and said, "What can I do?" And he moved towards me and started unbuttoning his shirt. I was shocked. And then I felt guilt. A huge amount of guilt. I was a closeted gay guy, so I must have done something, said something, to make him think that he could get away with that. But, boy, had he read me wrong, because by that point I hated him. I no more would have touched him, no matter how prettily he wrapped or unwrapped his candy. Why are you unbuttoning your shirt? Just what do you think is going to happen? He backed up, all surprised and confused and embarrassed. So I made him stay for the full hour, and we worked that monologue as best we could. A few days later, he did it in class, and the class had to break off from what they were supposed to be doing. We'd moved past doing scene work by then, so that he could do his monologue. His lines still weren't memorized, and he floated haplessly about the space like a little Kleenex blowing in the wind. When he asked me, I told him he was going to get a D. A few days later, he showed up, and he was a completely different person. He was assertive and domineering. He told me that he was going to go to the faculty and tell them that I'd made a handsy pass at him unless I gave him an A. I was terrified. So afraid of being outed. He needled me for the better part of a half an hour in a very public space. I was so afraid that someone would hear what he was saying to me. On and on he went at me. I couldn't look at him. I couldn't breathe. But as I sat there, peeing my pants in fear, I thought of all the crap he'd put me through, the girl through, and the class through. I finally just looked at him and said, "No, you do not deserve an A, and no matter what you do to me, you are not going to get one." He just laughed at me and went on at me for a little while longer, but I didn't care. He did not deserve an A, and he was not going to get an A. I stuck to my guns. He finally left, and I never heard from him again, and he got his D. Now, in this age of Me Too, I wonder about him. I'd like to be a fly on the wall and see what happened to him. I mean, what a plan to come up with. Did Pill somehow see me and say to himself, "I know the teacher is a closeted homosexual, so instead of doing any work, I'll just wait till the end, and then I'll bully and blackmail the loser till he gives me what I want and hands me an A." You know, with thinking like that, he probably ended up a chief advisor to the Orange in the White Place. Crap!